Welcome to Feng Shui Living, the podcast designed for busy women who want to de-stress, live with intention, and create a home that truly supports their well-being. Each week, I'll bring you practical tips, insightful ideas, and simple strategies to enhance both your home and your life. Let's get started. If you love this podcast and you're ready to go deeper into this work, my book, Aligned at Home, is designed to help you start shifting your space right away with simple, approachable guidance. And for those of you who like something maybe a little more hands-on, the Aligned at Home workbook gives you prompts, exercises, and checklists to actually walk through your home and make some changes. You can snag links for both the Aligned at Home book and workbook in the show notes. Welcome back to Feng Shui Living podcast. I am your host, Lisa Morton, and always happy to have you here. Today, we maybe are going behind the scenes a little bit, I guess. I have been guesting on other podcasts a lot lately, several each week. And gosh, it's been so fun and such an honor to share about my work and to share about my book and to just kind of open some people's eyes who've never thought about the effects of their home environment. And it has been so fun. And some really interesting conversations. If you follow me on social media at Pure Living with Lisa Morton, then you can, I'm sharing some of those episodes with me. I'm also doing it in my weekly newsletter. So make sure you're signed up for that if you want to check out some of those episodes. Really amazing people, really great podcasts. I know I have some new favorites that I want to listen to. In fact, yesterday I was interviewed on Polly Campbell's Simply Write. She coaches writing, and she was not my writing coach, but we had a great conversation. And one of the funny things, she's like, "Tell me what's on your desk." And so, well, this is not my desk. This is my podcast studio. I shared with her, which I'll share with you because we're going behind the scenes. I have my favorite peppermint lip balm. I have my Manuka honey throat spray that I keep in here, especially if I'm doing multiple episodes, because I just don't have the voice to do 3 podcasts in a day, although I find myself doing that. And then, of course, I, being the rock lover, have rocks in my podcast studio here, but this is my favorite one. If you're watching on YouTube and you ever see me fiddling with something, more often than not, I'm playing with my red jasper stone that I always have here. So just a little behind the scenes. But I've also been having these hosts ask, they ask a lot of the same questions. They want to know, they want to know the best tips and tricks. What advice do you give the most often? What are your favorite stories and what works, what really doesn't? So I've been thinking about these conversations, and I kind of realized while we've navigated through these conversations throughout various episodes, I didn't have an episode just giving you some of my favorite stories and some of my favorite tips. These are the things I find myself coming back to again and again. No matter who I'm talking to on a podcast or interviewed for an article or something, these are just those solid stories and examples that I love to share. And I'm sure one of these will probably land for you today. Almost every podcast I'm interviewed, they ask about color. Because color's fun, color's interesting, color's exciting. You can have opinions on color with knowing nothing about it. Maybe even just knowing what you like. You don't have to know any color psychology, color theory to enjoy playing with color, working with color, creating a Pinterest board of all your favorite colors. So color's always an easy one to start with. P.S. Color Mastery, the next Color Mastery, my free color class is on, let me check my notes here, June 30th at 7 p.m. It's online via Zoom. It is only live. It is not recorded. So I'd love to have you come and join. Just sign up on my website in the school tab where I have all my classes and workshops listed. So I had a client call me And we had done several things to their home. We'd done some more decorative, beautiful things. We designed some custom window treatments, ordered some furniture, and I then got into some Feng Shui. And I had gone, I'm trying to think, I think we'd had a rug delivered to their home. And so I'm there at the receiving the rug and getting it set up. And the mom started talking to me about the daughter. And they had a daughter who was, let's say, 5 at the time. And she wasn't sleeping through the night in her bed. She would wake up every night screaming. So basically, she was sleeping every night in mom and dad's bed or the older sister's bed. So essentially, no one was sleeping well. And the mom told me she had tried everything to get the little one comfortable in her bedroom, but it just wasn't working. She then went on to tell me about some of her child's life. I mean, by 5 years old, she had already had multiple surgeries. Okay. She had had her first one quite young. And the mom said, Lisa, I told them I wanted to be there when she woke up to make sure I'm right next to her when she wakes up from her surgery. And unfortunately, it did not happen. So she woke up. And as you can imagine, even as an adult, it's waking up from a surgery can be a little jarring and a little frightening. And in her case, very frightening. So fast forward to her bedroom. I asked the mom, can we go see her bedroom? And we go up there and look. And it was really cute. I'll start with that. It was really cute and like something you'd see on a design show. It was neon green and bright pink. The walls were this bright, maybe not neon, but bright pale green. And then a lot of pink, a lot of stuff just going on too on the walls. So I just took a minute, asked if I could just sit down on the bed and just observe. And it hit me. She was going to bed at night and would wake up screaming. Well, when she woke up, I think it was mimicking what happened when she woke up from her surgery. It was reminding her body was just going into this panic mode. Because think about the neon or bright green color on the wall, right? Think about waking up in a hospital, very bright lights. It's not calming or comfortable. There's also a lot of stuff going on on the walls, just a lot of stimulation. And I think that was also reflecting or mimicking the hospital. There's commotion, there's nurses, there's things happening, beeps and all kinds of noises. So I explained this to the mom and she goes, oh my gosh, you're right. So while they wanted to keep with the pink and green theme, we softened it. Instead of green on the walls, we put a soft, warm white, very cozy, warm white. We brought in a few green accents, a green cozy chair, and then softened and reduced the amount of things on her wall, the amount of decorative stuff. There's no reason to have quite that many. And also just reducing that amount would bring her energy and her nervous system into more of a relaxed state. And I'm very proud to say, I'm very happy to report that she has been sleeping much better and on her own. So just a quick story on color. And here's what I want you to take away. Color it isn't just about what looks pretty. Color is doing something in your space, and affecting you in your space, whether you realize it or not. Color is really powerful. Again, check out my color mastery. It's June 30th at 7 p.m. You know, there's warm tones, the reds, the oranges, and yellows. They're higher energy. They lift our energy. And so they're great in some spaces, but not in others. The same with cool tones. And we dive deep into all of this. So here's a question for you. Think about a room you have at home. And I want you to think about, how do you feel in here? And is that feeling influenced by the color? Are you relaxed? Are you joyful? What are the colors? What do you see? And This doesn't mean you have to repaint. This does not mean you have to repaint every wall. You have to invest in all new stuff. It can be simply bringing in some new bedding, maybe some accents, maybe some bookends of a certain color. It can even be really small touches. So here's a story about one of my favorite clients. So when I walked in, the home just wasn't reflecting them at all. I remember walking in through the front door thinking, really? In a very kind way. I was just like perplexed because they were a very interesting couple. They loved nature, and everything in their home was pink. Pink top to bottom, head to toe. I mean, just in the kitchen, there was a pink border along the top. I mean, very 90s. Pink border. There was a pale pink color on the wall, another pink floral wallpaper, pink countertop, pink tile backsplash, and the floor vinyl even had some pink in it. And I'm thinking, this just doesn't feel like you guys. And, you know, they had wanted to update for a while, but we're in that stuck, frozen, overwhelmed phase until they felt ready to call me. And what I really loved about this project was being able to walk in through that front door and explain to them how when I walk in, a guest walk in, even they walk into their front door, it's not representing who they are. It's almost telling the story of someone totally different. They loved nature. We brought in a tabletop fountain. We brought in some natural elements, a lot of earthy, natural feeling things that made them feel grounded and comforted in their home and not just pink top to bottom. One thing I really loved about this project too was her home was spotless. This woman maintained everything beautifully. Her kitchen cabinets, although they were 20 some years old, looked brand new. And so we were able to simply paint them and not have to order all brand new cabinetry. This was really great. We were able to take a lot of things that they had and repurpose or maybe use them in a different room and get rid of a lot of the pink. But think about your front door. Does it represent who you are? You know, I mean that in a few ways, you know, does it represent, first of all, I guess, is it welcoming? Does it welcome anyone in? Is it tidy? Is it clean? And then as someone walks up to the door, sees the door, and walks across the threshold, are they greeted by you, by a current version of you? Or are they greeted by a past version of you or even someone else? Maybe a past homeowner who lived there and what colors they liked and what represented them. So tend to your front door. I talk about the front door being the mouth of G all the time. I know I have some episodes I can link to. Love on your front door, tidy it up, and make it reflect who you are right now and where you are going. All right, so on to number 3. Energy needs to be able to move, okay? And this story, just being an animal lover, I don't know if I've shared this here on the podcast before, but this one was, I was a little sad when I went home that first day. So this client had called me and then she canceled. And then she called and canceled again and called and canceled again. And I was fully expecting it to be canceled the final time. But no, she kept it. I arrived at her home. And when I walked in, I was so incredibly perplexed what was happening. She was very sweet, very sweet. But when I walked in, there was plastic sheeting everywhere. Plastic covering the rugs, covering the hardwood floor, covering all just, the large rolls of plastic just opened up and covering every surface. And so I didn't want to jump to any conclusions. I was just trying to be super caring and open because she obviously needed some help. So we sat down. And she had explained that her husband had passed maybe 10 years prior, and then her son had passed, who had lived with her, and maybe 2 years prior. And then she had 2 other cats who'd passed, and she had 1 cat. left, one cat remaining. And she was so sad because this cat was nearing the end of its life, and she was heartbroken. So she added all this plastic sheeting because the cat would wander throughout the home. And this was a large home, a second story with all kinds of bedrooms. And the cat would wander through the home and get sick and vomit. And sometimes either she wouldn't know it in time to be able to clean it up right away. She didn't know the cat did this, or sometimes she wasn't feeling up to bending over to clean up. She was a little older herself, and getting around wasn't quite so easy for her. And at the same time, I'm thinking, oh my gosh, I'm so afraid this woman is going to trip on this plastic. This is just a safety hazard. So we had to come up with a solution, not just energetically, but for her safety. So we talked about what rooms she loved to use, what rooms where the cat spent most of its time. And she had the house available to the cat. Every room the cat could go into, right? There was plastic everywhere. But yet the woman wasn't using the house herself. So it was getting stagnant. So I asked her, where do you like to spend most of your time? And she said, well, I like to read my Bible in the sunroom. Fantastic. Okay, well, tell me about the cat, and where does the cat like to spend most of its time? Well, she's telling me about this, that, and the other. And of course, the cat loved to watch birds from the sunroom. Okay, there's our answer. They had a really nice sunroom and kind of enclosed sunroom. It was really beautiful, really cozy furniture. And so I suggested, instead of the cat getting the entire home, this could be primarily the cat's home, and the cat could spend most of its time in here. And then the woman could actually use the rest of her home and go into spaces that she wasn't using anymore. And she was actually really on board with this because they did love to spend time together in the sunroom. And this would have made her life easier, not having to wander around looking for places that the cat got sick. And also, I wouldn't have to worry about her tripping on that plastic sheeting everywhere. And she could use her home too. That's what was most important. So I'm happy to report that they spent quite some time in their sunroom and really enjoyed it. So here's the point of this story. Energy needs to move through every space, through every room, not just the one where you want to spend your most time in. Not just the pretty ones, every room. Even if you have a room closed off, a guest room that never really gets used, I still want you to go in there, do something in there. If nothing else, go and turn on the blinds and turn on the lights and open the blinds and get some movement in there. Add a wind chime, add a plant, play some music. This will help bring balance to your entire home, because if you don't, that room gets stagnant and stuck, and we don't want that. Now, keep in mind, you don't have to overhaul every room, but just a few moments in each room, or having some sort of living item. Remember that even these unused spaces, maybe a kid's room that's off at summer camp for 3 weeks, even though they're not in there, it's still affecting the energy of your entire home. So we need to give all the spaces attention. So there you have it, friends. Those are my 3 top stories I share and 3 tips that I commonly share on podcasts. Color is so supportive. The front door is really important. And we also want to use all the spaces in our homes. And again, this is so much of what my work is about. Small adjustments, big results. Just because you're doing something small doesn't mean it's not going to be impactful. Why do we always think everything has to be so hard? If you want to go deeper with this kind of work, learning about how to read your home, learning about how to make some of these adjustments, these shifts, and join a community of like-minded, amazing women, I would love to have you join my Aligned at Home collective. That's exactly what we do in there. It's my monthly membership group, and gosh, it's a really special group. And if you enjoyed my podcast episode last week, where I interviewed Jen Heller, Jen is our special guest in the collective membership group for this next upcoming on a group call that we do. We do a call once a month, and Jen is joining us. First time ever having a guest. Her story is amazing, and I cannot wait for you to learn more about her. P.S. She's also going to be a special presenter at my Aligned Sanctuary retreat this fall. I think you're the first to hear about this, so very excited. Thank you all for being here so much. Special thanks to our sponsor, Elevated Living School of Holistic Design and Feng Shui. For more information, head over to the show notes. If you enjoyed this episode, be sure to subscribe, give us a 5-star review, and share this episode with a friend. We'll see you next time.